Welcome to Dreamifesting, where we awaken to the power of our dreams. I'm your host, Dr. Dream, Kelly Sullivan Walden. So, what is Dreamifesting? It's the fusion of manifesting and spirituality, taking inspired action toward your desires fueled by dreams. It's also the title of my new book. After writing it, I realized I had a lot more to say. That's why in every episode, we explore the intersection of sleep and awake, spirit and science, and yes, the holy and the guacamole. So grab your journal, light a candle, and get ready to dreamifest, because as you are lifted, all are lifted. Welcome to the show today. I am so excited to be with you all. So I know that you, if you're watching or listening to this, you are a tender-hearted spiritual being having a very human incarnation right now. And if you're anything like me, you're feeling things deeply. And it's not easy for us tender-hearted souls to witness a world that is behaving in such a way that it is harsh and cold and at war with itself, with truth, with basic humanity. And it all can feel like a nightmare. Not a dream at all, not a dreamy dream anyway. And yet, dream we must. Some of the greatest dreamers in history dreamed their best dreams during the darkest times. Harriet Tubman dreamed the Underground Railroad into existence in the belly of slavery's brutality. Martin Luther King Jr. declared, "I have a dream," in the midst of racial segregation. Thomas Edison dreamed the light bulb filament when the world was quite literally in the dark. So, what are we dreamers to do? Hide under the covers? Run into the streets screaming at everyone to wake up? No. Dreamers are here to stay emotionally regulated, to breathe, so that we can access solutions. In fact, I would say soul-lutions. We're here to alchemize the chaos, not just amplify it. We're here to dream remedies for a world in peril and the world within us that can be in peril, for our own lives and for our families and for all of those in this whole wild whirlwind of a world. So, what dreamers do differently than those who don't value their dreams is this: we don't rush first thing to the news in the morning. We rush to our dream journals. We give voice to that subtle voice of our dreams because we know they carry encoded genius and guidance for the very challenges we face. So, yes, today we're going to put on our big girl panties and our big boy britches and talk about some difficult things. It's even difficult to say. In a moment, I'm going to invite my friend Kosar Abbasi, a brilliant dancer, to join. She's been exiled from Iran for daring to move her body freely without covering herself, her head, her hair, her light. She's going to share a little bit of her story and her feelings about our war, the war that our president has declared in Iran, and the many, many people who are dying over there. And then a little later, we're going to have Christy Whitman, a major dreamer, New York Times bestselling author of The Flow Factor and channel for the council. And she's going to speak and allow the council to speak about consciously creating during turbulent times and how to apply universal laws with deliberate grace. And then finally, a beloved friend of the show, Brett Walker, he's going to share a recent dream he had about Jeffrey Epstein. And we'll explore how even the most disturbing symbols can become portals to healing. So, ready to harness the power of your dreams to create the world you desire? I hope so. All right. Without further ado, Miss Kosar Abbasi, yes, we're in the middle of Mercury retrograde, but I pray you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Oh my God, I'm so happy. Oh, thank God.
I'm ready.
Hallelujah. So,
Yeah.
the reason I want you on the show today is because you are a dear friend of mine. I met you through Rasuli, the artist, the great fusion artist that I've had the
Mhm.
blessing of creating multiple oracle decks with. And He's also from Iran, and every time you and I speak, Kosar, I feel like you bring me to a greater awareness of the things that are outside my bubble. So, for people who wonder what my bubble is, normally I'm not a political girl. I feel like dreams are a equal opportunity thing that we can all it's a playground we can all play in regardless of what side of the political aisle we're on. But, these days, people we're I think it's time to talk about some things, so I hope it doesn't isolate too many people, but I'm kind of a tree hugging Democrat, and I also have many, many friends on all sides of the aisles, and Kosar, you voted for Trump in the first election, and I know I was like, "What? Why did you do that?" And you were telling me from an Iranian perspective, being somebody from Iran, you have a very, very particular opinion, and I thought it might be helpful for people to know what's going on with you as somebody who has family living in Iran and the complexity of what's happening right now. So, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me this platform to be able to truly express the truth of life that I have lived as a person, individual
Mhm.
Iranian woman, and what we have been going through as a nation and a community.
Yeah.
Um, when we, especially when it comes to spirituality, and that's where I have more expectation from those people who are spiritually, have more awareness. You cannot delete
Mm.
politics from our life. If we believe as one, so we are one with whatever is there. So the
Right.
earth has politics, economy, religion, love, art, poetry. It's just all together. We cannot separate them from each other. And as an Iranian woman, since the time I was born and brought up, since the age of 20, I was in Iran. It's been a biggest challenge of my life to just being Iranian. And the thing is, what's happening, I think we're missing a lot. So if we are one, if there is a cancer on part of our body,
Mm.
if we don't
Mm.
get rid of that cancer, it's going to affect everybody. And that's what we can see it. We have been talking about this brutal terrorist
Mm.
organization, which they call themselves government, and other countries give them platform, give them homes to open their embassies and negotiate with them. Every time an American friend told me, I want to tell you honestly, I'm 9 years in US, I'm a US citizen. It's the first time I'm a proud Iranian American. I didn't feel belong to the country until today. For the first time, I realized
Mm.
I have a safe home and someone is backing us up finally. I'm 41
Mm.
years old. Since the day I remember myself, we have been trying to say we need help. Please don't negotiate with these terrorists. uh Going back to the history, I really want everyone, whoever can, watch the Dying King, about how
Mm.
important US is, how important American government is. The whole whatever we are going through last 47 years, it's just because someone like President Carter decided to do and found it and get rid of our king and bring this terrorist to power. We have to start taking responsibility for it. It makes me upset that a lot of my friends who are supporting democracy, I always say, which democracy that it's we
Right.
have to give blood for it in Iran. You cannot take the blood of people and create democracy somewhere else. I want to ask one question from you, Kelly. Why
Mhm.
do we have to be migrated to United States in the first place?
Right.
Why can
Right.
I just live in my own country?
Right.
I don't want to be an immigrant. I don't want to
Right.
go through being a refugee and leave my beautiful land, Iran, that
Right.
everyone, whoever is a spiritual or has anything about poetry and Rumi, they know where we come from. This is not
Mhm.
what we deserve.
Right.
Last month, 40,000 people got killed in Iran, young people, my classmates, by this government. No one,
40,000. I
40,000
want
in 2 days.
40,000 people in Iran were
In two
murdered
days
in 2 days.
by the
So, yeah,
Islamic Republic. We have no guns, we have no army, we don't have anybody. We ask US government since Biden, since Obama, we begged Obama, don't give negotiate with them, you know. It's it hurts me that my country is getting bombed. It's such a weird feeling. I don't
because
know, do I have to be happy, do I have to be sad? Where do we stand? The whole
well, what you were
this cancer needs to be, you know, healed, otherwise it's gonna spread as it's spreading right now, you
so
know.
one thing that I hear from you, Kosar, because I'm somebody who and I mean, I hope this isn't triggering, and because you know I love you. You know
I
you
know.
and I are sisters, and I voted for Obama. I love Obama. I voted for I mean, I didn't vote for Jimmy Carter. I was a little girl back then. Hello. But I love his work with Habitat for Humanity. I think he was a really good man, but I think that what I'm learning from you, and this is why I think it's important, Dana and I always want to keep our minds open to continue having friendships with people that have voted differently than us, because there's something to learn, at least from the perspective of let us understand. And I think what I've learned, and I hope I know, this is scary for me to say out loud, but because I have been of the ilk of like, I hate Trump. I like, how could anybody love him? Oh my God, I want to, like, what the hell? But in looking at him from your perspective, tell me if I'm right. It's kind of like these terrorists that have run your country, that have been in a position of ultimate supreme power, do not play by a gentleman's code of honor. And in many ways, Obama was a gentleman, Jimmy Carter was a gentleman, and I would say Biden was a gentleman. And what you're thinking from your perspective is we don't want a gentleman because a gentleman's not going to cut it. We need somebody
No,
that is completely rogue, that will scare the bejesus out of these bleeping horrible people that are running our country. And in many ways, maybe at least in the short run, that's happening. I mean, my friends in Venezuela felt the same way. I've got a friend right now who's in Venezuela who said they were dancing in the streets when Trump took their president, and they were like, "Oh my God, nobody's ever done that before. Yay." But
yes,
oh no, it's like we're taking one horrible thing and replacing it with another. So you were saying yesterday, I mean, you were one of the people that was dancing in the street a few days ago.
absolutely. Oh
So
my
tell us.
God, that was I was going through this back pain for a while, gave MRI, ultrasound, this and that. Since the moment this Khamenei got killed, my pain is gone. I want you to come and hear my cousins' stories. Everyone, there is some physical pain is going out of our body. I can't deny
So
that. I felt it. You know, I work with my body. I feel lighter.
yes,
I feel lighter. He's gone. He's
right.
gone. He abused us. He
And
was
what
the
I
most abusive. He is the most devil. He is the devil. He was
and
the devil.
you said that that there was going into the hospitals where people are already sick, laying on their hospital beds
Absolutely
and killing people.
finish them.
So we're talking about a
Finish them
nightmare
by
that is
guns in their
beyond.
heads, you know.
So it's beyond what we can fathom. And those of us in the United States, like myself, I admit I have lived in a bubble of, even though there's been all kinds of problems. I mean, I wrote a book called A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste because of the shit that I've gone through in my life, which is nothing compared to this. Nothing compared to this. So I think what we're talking about is just completely different worlds. And what you're looking for is a hero. And like you said, I think the cancer metaphor is apt because, so let's just say we removed a cancer, but we didn't remove the cause of the cancer, because like you said, somebody else is going to come up in power that may be just as bad. Like something else needs to change. It
No,
needs to be more fundamental.
No, that's not how we think, Kelly. That's not we Iranian believe. We,
Okay, what is it?
it- the Persians were the ones who brought human rights to the world by Cyrus. Okay,
Yes!
and
And let's not
and
forget
and the
Rumi
thing
and
is,
Hafez.
before I'm not against anybody's religion, but we have been there before Islam. We are Persians. That, what does that mean? We have Iranian Jews, we have Iranian Christians, we have Iranian Muslims, we have Iranian Baha'is, we have Iranian who are not religious, we have atheists, we have a spiritual people. We are Persians. The
Yes.
problem is, look at what's happening. Never ever are any Muslims countries stood up behind Iranian people. Why? Because of the hate and the propaganda this government has been spreading and spending the money to just create the hate against Jews and Israelis.
So,
I don't hate
Miss
Jews. I don't hate Israelis. I don't hate Arabs either. But the problem is, by supporting this government and not standing with people and human rights. Why should any religion be above human life? Religion is supposed to be about love and unity, about enlightenment,
yeah.
not about creating hate and war. The thing is, everyone comes with Iraq and Syria, and those we are not. We are Persians. All those countries,
Oh,
they were
Miss
invaded
Kosar,
by Islam, and yes,
your
they
audio is
changed
cutting out a
their
little bit.
language. Okay?
What I'm
We are
wanting is
Persian.
to
You cannot.
honey, I'm so sorry. The audio is
The
cutting out. It's cutting out. And
okay.
I'm so
Uh,
sorry. So I want to have a longer
no.
conversation with you about all of this because I think it is important for us to step outside of our bubble and look and see these other perspectives. How are we ever going to heal if we don't
Right.
understand? And I'm looking at these butterflies over your head, and I know you are a dancer. Before I bring Christy Whitman on, who's going to channel the council, I just wanted to hear people I know. There's one person I know in particular that said recently, because, and she pays a lot of attention to the news, which is very good, but she said, it's causing me to lose my sparkle. I'm losing my ability to feel like life is juicy. So I want to talk about kind of taking a nod from A Course in Miracles that says, look at the crucifixion, but dwell not on it. We need to also get into the light. We need to get into the solution. So what is something you do to make sure that you keep your light, you keep your sparkle? And we only have a minute before I'm going to bring Christy on, but I just want to hear you say something if the audio will allow us to.
There are a lot of videos that 40,000 people in their 20s got killed. Is for the first time you see mothers, sisters, wives, brothers, daughter are dancing. Iranian are dancing and putting these bodies into the ground. That it has inspired me as a dancer. I've never ever been as inspired as today. Like, I'm send you a video for you to watch. This sister throwing flour on everyone. Brother was 19 years old. He was shot 3 times in his face. She's dancing, throwing flour, welcoming everybody. For her brother was being gifted to her motherland. That's how they are. That Iranian people in Iran are my enlightenment, to be honest, these days. These souls are, wow. I'm nobody in front of them, to be honest.
Can you hear me? I want
Yes.
people to be able to find out more about you, because when you dance, Kosar, when you express yourself, it is, you're doing it from not just, oh, this is fun. It's like you do it from such a soulful place of like, I get to move my body. I am free to move my body. So Kosar Abbasi is your name, Abbasi, and your website, kosarabasi.com. And I know you've got an app coming out. Can you tell people how they can find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram, Kosar Abbasi Official, or kosarsrhythm.com. And my upcoming app is called YUX Studio. Coming soon.
YUX Studio. What does YUX stand for?
Your unique expression.
Your unique expression. Oh,
Expression, the butterfly.
oh, Kosar Abbasi. I so love you. I so appreciate
I
you. Thank
love
you
you
for being my
too.
sister. And Christy,
Thank
for
you.
some reason, I think we've got some Mercury retrograde. She got kicked out of StreamYard. She's coming back. So we have another minute. So tell me, if you could give a message to the world, if the world was listening to you as an Iranian American,
Mhm.
what is your message? What do you hope the world would hear? What do you want them to know about you and your message?
Stand with Iranian people. Let's bring democracy one more time worldwide for everyone. Let's bring human rights for everybody. Let's stop terrorism. Iran is a very, very important part of the world in history. We need help. We need to stand together. If we are one, if that part is wounded, as the Sadi poem says, which I'm going to send that to you. If there is a part
Oh,
of our
please do.
body which is, wounded, we need to heal it together. Other than that, that infection gonna come and get the whole body. That part of the body is infected. We need to get together.
And maybe it starts by understanding. Like, I think the
Yes,
people here in the US don't really have a clue about what you're
I
dealing with. And so
understand.
understanding it, maybe we can be a little bit more holographic in our approach. Well, I so appreciate you. We're going to go to
Thank
a
you.
quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll have Christy Whitman, who will channel the council. And everybody check out Kosar Abbasi and her new app. And it's, say that again.
Y
X
U X.
Y U X
Your
Y
unique expression.
your unique expression. Okay, we'll be right back. Did you know that every night when you nestle yourself into bed and close your eyes to the outside world, you're sleeping on untapped potential that could positively change your life? I'm Kelly Sullivan Walden, author of Dreamifesting. It's not just another book on manifesting, but a revolutionary approach blending science, spirituality, and the wisdom of your subconscious. Through Dreamifesting, you'll learn to set intentions before bed, decode your dreams so you'll awaken with insights to unlock opportunities you otherwise would have missed. In Dreamifesting, you'll meet real people who won the lottery, overcame impossible odds, and met the love of their life, all guided by dreams. If you want better health, better wealth, a better career, Dreamifesting will give you the tools to make it happen. I'm Kelly Sullivan Walden, author of Dreamifesting. It's not just a book. It's the gateway to the life of your dreams.
زیاد. من همیشه تخت و رولر میکشم.
Us. Oh, welcome back to the show. In a moment, Christy Whitman will be joining us. Let me just tell you a little bit about this amazing woman. So, Christy Whitman is a two-time New York Times bestselling author who has been a transformational leader for the past 25 years, teaching how to manifest and create their having it all life through deliberate application of the universal laws. She helps lead clients in private and group sessions and courses through their personal, mental, emotional, and energetic spiritual transformation through her books, seminars, and meditations and courses. And so overall, she's an author of 7 books, including her forthcoming book, The Flow Factor. Actually, it's out and it is amazing. And Christy Whitman, what I love. Wow. Did I really all that? None of that got recorded. We're having some retrogradian um, things happening. All right. So what I was saying is Christy Whitman channels the council, and the council is an incredible group of higher frequency beings. And let me see if no, not yet. All right. So while I'm waiting for Christy to come on, we've got Brett Walker, who as soon as Christy comes in, we'll bring her in. But in the meantime, we've got a friend of the show, Brett Walker, and I want to have dreams. I want to have an actual dream on here every show. Before I bring on Brett, I'm going to share a little dream I had last night that really relates to some current events, and maybe we'll blend this together. In my dream, I dreamt about Ghislaine Maxwell. As you know, she's in prison. She was Jeffrey Epstein's, um, cohort, and everybody knows who she is. Anyway, in my dream, she was a Rolls Royce, and all and there was only a few little parts, like bolts and screws, that were worth keeping, and everything else was going to the scrap heap. But I was like, let's not lose the parts that are worth keeping. And that's all I remember is we were sending the rest of it off, and we were holding on to the parts that were good. For me, I'm always looking for what's good. How can we keep what's the gold in everything? So, on that note, Brett Walker, thanks for joining me. Can you see me? Are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, it's so great to see you. Welcome. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah,
All
it's been a
right.
long time.
So let's just dive in. Let's hear your dream, please.
So yeah, I decided to do the jet set concept on the dream.
That's
So I'll
great.
start with the J, the gist of facts. It was a very I've been having a lot of trouble remembering dreams lately, mainly because of sleep hygiene. But yeah, the one scene I remember was Mr. Epstein walking past me, and I was lower than he was, so he was higher up. So I was either sitting in a chair or laying in a bed, maybe in a hospital, or behind a desk or something. Like a boss would walk in. He walked in uncomfortably close
Mm.
and just was imposing. And he was in my space, and it was like, okay, all right, go on, keep going. I know who you are. And that's about all the scene was. That's it. But it was definitely his face, and it happened twice in the dream. But I can't remember any other details, unfortunately. I hope that's okay.
Of
That's
course, of course. Okay, so tell us your jet set. So you just did the J, just the facts, ma'am. So,
Yeah,
or man, just the facts, man. So
right.
your feeling was the
Yeah.
energy.
So the emotions behind it were definitely intimidated. I felt intimidated, and it was almost a sense of intentional. Uh, he wanted to intimidate me too, so that was kind of on purpose. He was in my personal space, and he was definitely leaning in and going, whatever you're doing, don't do it. Or I don't know what it might be, but that was the kind of feel I got from the
Mm.
interaction. And there was no verbal, it was all non-verbal. And then so I named the dream an imposition, just
And
because he came in. I'm like, what are you doing in my dream? Like, why would this kind of character be in my dream? Is what I was. And I'm like, that was kind of just stuck right in there. And lately I haven't been remembering many dreams, but that one really stood out. So I was like, okay, this
oh,
is important.
okay, so the title was The Imposition, and your standout symbols would be
Yeah, the symbols would. I wrote it down here. Yeah, I yeah. So how I saw it was the dark side. So the dark side of man
oh,
coming into my psyche, or my subconscious, I guess, and just coming in and saying, "Hey, I could take over. I could take over your world, but you have to be
oh,
diligent. If you're vulnerable, like you were, like I felt very vulnerable. I could take over, but not yet."
oh my goodness. Okay, so
Kind of how I
did
saw it. It was that darkness, the darkness of every, the shadow side of everyone.
oh, that is so interesting. Okay, so then you're the E for embodiment, and then I have a lot of questions and a lot of things that are percolating.
Yeah. So I kind of how I take it in is the two wolves theory. So
Oh,
you can do
yeah,
one,
nice.
or take take the power that that character has, and do good with it, or you could
Mhm.
do what Mr. Epstein did with it. You can have the connections, you can have the opportunity, the setting, the connections. You could do good with it, or
Oh.
not. You could choose, and here's a choice. If you let it, it can take over. I guess maybe that's another part of it is, if I let that dark side take over and start making decisions in my life, I really don't want that to happen, but it could if I'm too vulnerable, if I become too weak. So that's kind of how
Okay.
I embodied it in myself. And
That's
the
really
last one,
good.
intentional
The
actions. Do you want to
T.
move on to that?
Yeah.
So where
Yes,
I'm going
yes,
to go
please.
is, of course, I'm going to work it as hard as I can at shepherding. Using this energy to shepherd rather than um, be the tyranny of evil men, as has happened. I would much
Mm.
rather, if I'm given both those sides, I would much rather go to the good and help people along, and get the weak and get them stronger. Like, instead of intimidating people into becoming weaker, move them up, move them on. Sorry.
And is there any circumstance in your life where there would be some where you see that that's immediate? I mean, you're a hero. You're a fireman who sits in a
Yeah.
big tower looking for fire, and then you look to put it out. So you're already somebody who seeks to do good. You're not starting the fires. You're not amplifying the fires. You're trying to put things out.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any other place that might be more subtle where there's it from my perspective, where and if there's a power differential leaning into that power differential? Is there any place where you do that? I can't imagine, but I know we're
Uh,
all everything.
I think there is. I have some relatives who are in tough times right now with their situation, and I have the ability to be their kind of anchor, or the rock,
Mhm.
and have them bounce ideas off me, or their frustrations, or their whatever. Bring it on. I'm pretty solid. You can hit me with just about anything, and I can be okay with it. And I think that's what I can't really do much more for them. I can't do monetarily. I can't do um, anything more, but I can be the sounding. I can be the mountain, I guess, the rock in some people's lives, which is helpful, I think, in certain cases right now.
Isn't it?
And
It's interesting
and just not
what
taking
you're
things personally. Like, if the frustration happens and it gets bitey, then I'll be like, okay, well, you're just frustrated. Shake it off, instead of being aggressive and letting that dark side take over.
what I love about you and what I love about your dream is that this is not a common way to talk about current events. When we typically talk about current events, when we talk about Epstein, we talk about him as he's like this character that's outside there in the world. And I mean, he's dead now. And also, I don't know if you heard me talking about my dream last night about Ghislaine Maxwell. Like, it's kind of this like, ooh, yuck shadow out there, which there's a place for that. I mean, there's a place and time for people to suit up, show up, protest, vote, treat these things as if they are external. But if we're going to heal it from within, and this is where Kosar, if you're listening, I'd love to have you come back in. So just show your face in the backstage, and I'd love to bring you in because I know you're a dreamer. If you were listening or watching before, Kosar Abbasi was just on, and anyway, we'll talk about that later. But there's something about this fixation on these difficult characters, Epstein, for example, who so epitomizes the monster, the abuse of power, and
Mm-hmm.
this absolute fury that I feel, that I can feel, where I just want to reach across the veil and strangle him and anybody who's like him. But then that in turn creates a monster out of me, and then I'm joining it. And it doesn't mean don't do things to look out for the underdog and do something physical that's productive, but then come and turn within and look for that character within, that wolf within, and say, wow, I really want to make a different choice if I'm in a position of power versus, and there's some weak part of me that might just want some power and I want to grab it wherever I can. I want to have some checks and balances within myself to not do that. So I don't know, how does that land? It's kind
Really
of a
well.
ramble.
It is important, and when back in 2016, when this kind of all the ball started rolling with the presidency, I really did a lot of work because I got really upset. I was mad at that guy for doing what he did and still getting in, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow. And then I realized I'm not even in that country. I don't. I'm in Canada. This guy has an effect on me, even though he has no bearing on my life, really, directly. And I really started dialing that back and going, okay, so I'm mad, but I'm not mad at him. I'm mad
Yeah.
at these three fingers pointing back at me. And
Right.
so I started working that way with it, and it really helped. And that's with this dream as well. Same thing. Yeah, he could be intimidating, and I bet you he was. But in my dream, that's my dream figure, by the way. That I made up that guy in my brain. Like he was
Right.
saying quite often, your dream figures are you're the dreamers. They made them up. They're in the dreamer's mind. So that's a
Right.
big indication. If I'm dreaming about somebody, I'm like, okay, I've got something to work on inside me, rather than
Right.
extending my finger out and trying to reach out to a different country and get mad about it. I'd much rather
Yeah. I
self.
mean, and anger can be a great prompt to action, to take action. But if
Yeah.
it's to just toil and become more poisoned internally, then that might not be it. I just think it's interesting because you, if anybody is seeing this, or if you're Brett Walker is a beautiful, tall, strapping Caucasian man, and you'd think, I mean, you're relating to what it was like to be a vulnerable person in his world. And mostly those vulnerable people were women, most of them, not all. Some of them were men. But I think it's an interesting perspective as well, for just like I wanted Kosar on the show to talk about what it's like to be Iranian at a time like this, where 40,000 people just got killed in 2 days from her mother country. And where we in the US and in Canada, like I mean, 9/11 was a huge deal, which was horrible, but that's like a drop in the bucket compared to what just happened over there. So it's important, I think, to step into the other shoes and see what the other more vulnerable ones feel like. And Pearl is saying, I'm vulnerable, I'm at the door, I don't want anything to happen to anybody. Pearl always comes in right on time. She's always got a point of view. So I mean, as a woman, it actually makes me feel good to know that you had this dream. And I think dreams can be healing, not just for the dreamer, but for the people who have the ears to hear them. Because there's some men that might be like, what was the big deal? And those girls, they weren't children. They weren't 18, but they weren't children. I mean, come on, they look like adults. Like, what's the big deal? And I mean, I've heard some of that. So to have you be a man and having compassion for being in a vulnerable position with somebody who's in a position of power, it actually is validating.
Yeah, it's a tight line well, to make a comment about it even. But yeah, there are people out there who will say, well, they made a choice to go somewhere. And I'm like,
Yes.
not, that's not a good line to walk on there.
No.
Because
Yeah.
so many people can be taught when they're young that's normal. And as you grow up into it. And that's not really a educated choice, I'll say. You're being coerced essentially into a life. And
Groomed, as
that
they say.
extends outside of the Epstein thing too, as well. There, a lot of people get kind of forced into a certain path by their parents or
Right. No,
guardian.
but you're right. You're right to bring that little piece up. And I'll say, I mean, it's one thing when somebody is holding a gun to your head or a knife, or they've got a hold of you and you have no agency at all. That's a very particular kind of assault. It's a completely different assault when there wasn't the gun or there wasn't the knife, and when you participated in it. And so that is like a quadruple fuckery because you're like, and I'm saying that because I relate. And in the beginning of my book, A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, I talk about the year when I was 21, 20 to 21. I worked as a stripper in Hollywood, and that was not something that I was on track to do, but there was somebody that found me that was sort of a mini Epstein. In fact, his last name, I keep conflating the last names because they were so similar. And I was groomed. I was groomed in little teeny, I mean, over a much longer period of time. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein did it like pretty masterfully, very quickly. But what screwed me up was I never had a gun held to my head. Nobody forced me. I did these things, and then I had to live with myself. So there's a quadruple pain psychologically in that. I mean, it's horrible when there is no agency, but it's even worse when you use your agency against yourself. And as some spiritual teachers say, what we're dealing with here as humans are always issues of power. How do we get power? How do we keep power? Once we have power, how do we use that power? Do we use it to get more power from other people, or can we use it to empower? And I think that was sort of the question that you were asking yourself towards the end of your dream.
Yeah, which wolf do you which path do you take, right? Like, do you what popped into my brain when I was doing the jet setting was, if you remember Pulp Fiction from 1994,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Samuel L. Jackson kind of bookended the movie. So at the start, he reads a scripture, Ezekiel 25:16, and he goes off and says it, and then he uses it as a prompt to end someone. But at the other end of the movie, he says it again, but he's grown. He's had a life-changing event happen in between the two, and he's like, maybe that Bible verse, maybe it's me, maybe I'm the tyranny of evil men, and I need to learn to be a shepherd. I need to pick weak people up and move them forward. And it actually, I listened to it, and like, it's very similar to that. It popped into my brain. I was like, this is a very similar concept to this, that arc of the character change in that movie for that one character, from being an evil man to take other people's lives, to, hey, I can help you here. I can get you out of this predicament you've gotten yourself in. I can give you all this money. If you guys get out of here, you'll be fine. And
okay, so
money, and off they go.
This brings up something so interesting, and I wasn't even thinking to talk about this right now, but I did I'm a co-host, occasional co-host on a UK health radio show called The Healing Power of Your Dreams, and we had a guest on a few weeks back named Kalechi, and she's a very prominent social media person, influencer in England primarily, I was asking her opinion. This was around when Prince Andrew lost his title and got arrested. And I asked her, if you had anything to say to Prince Andrew, what would you say? Or formerly known as Prince Andrew. And she said, nothing. I would want nothing to say to him. I would just want him banished to the edge of the earth and just like go away, go far, far away. And we ran out of time on that show, but what I wanted to say is, what if there was redemption Like, what if it's like, what is that the one of the principles of physics is matter cannot be created or destroyed. It can just
Mhm.
be transformed. So what if there is no getting rid of somebody even when they die? What if there is no getting rid of that negative wolf, that dark wolf, that
Mhm.
there is none? And like, what if it's, are they transformable? Yeah, maybe they need to go to prison. Maybe they do need to be held in captivity so that they don't do more harm while they're hopefully getting rehabilitated. But this is a little bit of a meander, but I do want your feedback on this, Brett, so hang with me.
Yeah.
I heard years ago that, do you know about how the Nobel Prize came to be? Have you ever heard?
I think so, but I don't remember.
So
I think I'll.
apparently, the story goes that it was the great grandfather Nobel, and he was up in age, getting older, and he was reading the Sunday paper, having his coffee, and he was reading the obituary column, and he happened to read about his own obituary. Somebody thought he died and wrote an obituary about him, and it said basically, "Thank God he's dead. There's blood on his hands," because the Nobel family was known for being in the arms business. They created gunpowder, and they were responsible for millions of deaths. And he had this awakening in that moment. Oh my God, this is my legacy. This is what I'm going to be leaving my family when I die soon. I can't have this. So immediately he calls his accountant and earmarks $1 million or something to this thing that he made up called the Nobel Peace Prize. And that's how that started. It was it was mostly an act of ego, let's face it, because he didn't want to look bad. He cared about his legacy. He cared about his status, and he cared about the status and the legacy of his family. So, yes, it was his ego, but what he did, he actually put money into a fund that helps to bring up people that are doing things for peace. And that is now what his family is known for. So, to some degree, thank God he didn't just disappear off the planet before he was able to do something good. So, what if Deepak? What if Epstein? And I'm putting them in the same category, even though Deepak's crimes were much less, but they were still adjacent. And what if Ghislaine Maxwell? What if there is what if there's some place of redemption for these horrible people? Now, Kosar might hate me for even saying this. The horrible supreme leader of Iran that was just murdered, which all the Iranians are dancing in the streets saying, yay. Like, what if on some planet people are redeemable? What if all of us, what if we ourselves, we were all of it? What if we were horrible beasts in a past life? And this is what redemption looks like. We're working hard to manage our power now. Last thing I'll say before I hand it to you, the dream I was talking about regarding Ghislaine Maxwell. I never know exactly how to pronounce her name. Ghislaine, some people say Ghislaine. In my dream, she was a Rolls Royce that was being totaled, except there were a few little parts, bolts, nuts and bolts that were being kept because they were still okay. And I feel like that kind of speaks to at least my mythology, that we don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. We want to keep the parts that are good. We want to stay in the gray zone. It's never 100% bad, 100% good. And maybe there's some redemption in those little nuts and bolts. What do you have to say about that? Am I crazy?
You're onto something. I think that's great. The idea of the physics of it, like the energy can transmute. You can change matter. It doesn't just disappear. The
Right.
energy does go on, and you it. I think you'd be a prince if you could change from the terrible path that some people are on to an absolute great path, given whatever catalyst. Like there's people in my past that come into my brain every once in a while because I've had so many experiences now. There's certain ones that those people in my head stay exactly like that, even though it's been 10 or 20 years in some cases, they are still that to me.
Mhm.
And if I saw them again, I have ran this through my head. I wouldn't get mad. I wouldn't get upset. I wouldn't, like, because they're as different as I am from 20 years ago. I know 20 years ago, I'm a completely different person. I wouldn't slight them for what I have in my head. But I think there is an opportunity to go, you did hurt me. And I think
Yeah.
that's really important. You can forgive them. You can forgive them without them being in the room, but to let them know how it felt, uh, how their actions affected me is
Ooh.
important. It's really important, and
Mm.
that could be a catalyst. Anybody can be a catalyst to anyone, and you might not even know it just by
Ooh.
being normal. But in some cases, you might have to step into somebody, impose, as my dream. You might have to
Yeah.
impose on someone and go, yeah, you hurt me. That hurt what you did. And it might
Yes,
hurt them. It might not. They might go, yeah, get out of here. Who are you? I don't remember your name. Or they
it's
might
so true.
go, geez, what did I do? And they don't even remember it. It was just another day for them.
Yes. In fact, in A Course in Miracles, it says something about how forgive them for they didn't do the thing you thought they did, or for the reasons why you thought they did.
Yep.
Because they lost their minds. They were out of their minds. And maybe we were out of our minds when we took it personally.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps. The book I'm working on at the moment with my friend Joey Sutton, we're co-writing it. It's called Dream Crafting, and it's about using kind of the philosophy in dreams from the perspective that a dream isn't over just because you woke up. Like your Epstein dream isn't over just because you woke up. In fact, I'm going to ask you to finish that dream in a second, if you would, even though we just got a few minutes. But our perspective is that we're always dreaming all the time. Even right now, we're dreaming. And if there is somebody, and I would assert that anybody watching or listening, whether live or in real time or later, everybody has some relationship that is painful to them, whether it's like the big P pain or the small p pain, whatever it is, there's some pain in some relationship that feels unresolved. And often, I don't know if I'm not going to say never, but very seldom with those people do we actually get that very satisfying conclusion. Very seldom, very, very seldom. So are we supposed to just be bleeding until that day comes, or never, if that day never comes? Or can we use the principles of dreaming and give it to ourselves? So because it's all a dream and we are everyone in the dream, can that part of ourselves that is them give us what we wanted? So I'm going to ask you, Brett, and this is me putting you totally on the spot. If you were back in your dream with Epstein, and you were aware that you were dreaming, you were lucid in your dream, and you were aware that the dream ain't over until the dreamer, who is Brett, is empowered. What would Epstein have to do or say, or what would you have to do or say to him and have him hear it that would put you in the power position and transform this dream? And I know this process could take hours and hours and days and sessions and sessions, and I'm asking you to do it in 1 minute. But I think you
Yeah.
could do it. You're up, at least to begin the process.
Definitely. Yeah. I think the first thing, because there was a power or a level in balance. So he was
Yes,
standing and
he
I
was
was
above
lower
you.
to
Yeah.
stand up. I would stand up, step into his personal space, and just go, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable, sir. He's done some stuff. He's probably deserves, I don't know the guy. He deserves respect first. And then I just stand into him. I not punch him or anything, but like just step into that, use the same energy, basically like the physics, equal and opposite, be just push back and
And
stand
then
up.
what happens to him? Then what does he do? So you're standing up for yourself. You're standing up. And then what does he do?
I guess it would end my fear, like that kind of fear of being oppressed. I'd stand up straight, and he would, I think, stand away. He would just go, yeah, okay, and walk away. Now,
Very good.
if it became a back and forth, it would, of course, I would be bring up. Well, do you know you hurt a lot of people? Do you know that? Like some people don't know that. They just think this is all
Ooh.
about me. But you have to tell them sometimes. Sometimes you have to tell them.
Ooh, you got to tell him. And because now your dream is my dream, I'm going to dive in and just wrap it up with if it were mine, what I would do as well. I would take it because I think sometimes we need to poke at it a little bit until we get it so that it's triumphant. And because in a dream space, anything is possible. We're not confined by physics or logic at all. So if it were my dream and I had been on a hospital bed and I was in a seated or laying down position and he had come in and he was lording over me, and then I stand up and I say, no, don't come over here. You're not welcome in this vulnerable place. But then I might say, no, no, no. How about you sit down? You lay down on that bed. You're the sick one. And in fact, I'm going to fill the room with everybody you hurt, with everybody you have ever harmed, because here's the deal. When you die, from what I know from my personal experience and from the people I know that have passed, you get a holographic life review where you see everything that you experience from your perspective. But then the second go round is you stand in the shoes of everyone who was on the receiving end of your energy, good or bad. So I would watch his holographic life review where he feels it. He feels the effect, not like a sociopath that is removed, but where he feels it. And he feels all of it and lets himself completely become a puddle of remorse, a puddle of what have I done? Oh my God. Until like that goes on and on for years and years and years until he finally emerges and says, what can I do to make this right? What can I do? Like the Nobel guy, what can I do even from the other side or in my next incarnation? And let me start first with Brett. I'm going to start first with Brett. I'm so sorry that I walked into your room uninvited and I dared to assert my dominance with you. I am so sorry, my brother. Please forgive me on behalf of anyone else who's ever done that to you or made you feel small or powerless. Please, please forgive me.
That's amazing.
And on a parallel plane, dreams are real, and our reenacting with our dreams, it's real. It's a reality. And so we can allow those neuro networks to re-stitch themselves in a new way and have this new dream to live into. This is why I love that you came on the show today, Brett. And thank you so much for sharing your dream with me. This was perfect timing. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Kosar Abbasi, the extraordinary dancer, for having the courage to be herself, for the courage to dance, the courage to express herself, to show her skin, to show her hair, to show her light, even in the face of oppression. And may all beings everywhere, may all beings in Iran, may all beings in the Middle East, in Gaza, in Venezuela, in the United States, everywhere that there is any pain happening to any soul, may there be the alchemy trickling in and maybe full flooding like a fireman's hose, bringing in all that peace and all that light and all that beauty. Thank you for joining me on this show. Thank you so much, Brett. And tonight, I want everyone, before you fall asleep, set an intention, ask for an insight, ask to be shown your role in the great healing, because dreams and dreamers are not passive. We are participatory creatures, emotional alchemists, solutionaries. So remember, when you engage with your dreams consciously, you steady the nervous system, you strengthen the spirit, and you shape what comes next. You're not just living through history, you are dreaming the future. Sweet dreams, and may you dream a fast, your very best. Sweet dreams. Thanks for tuning in to Dreamifesting. If your inner light is shining a bit brighter, share the glow. Like, subscribe, and spread the word. Until next time, remember, the more you pay attention to your dreams, the better you live. The better you live, the more you lift us all. So keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep dreamifesting.